Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Before I begin, don't forget to join my Discord server called Luke 10's Hangar. I plan on joining weekly, so if anybody wants to fly together, we can make that happen. My Discord server is linked down in the description below. Today I'll be flying out the MiG-3-15. The MiG-3 was a Soviet aircraft that served during World War II and it was designed as a high-altitude interceptor. Its development, history, and operational performance are notable, though its overall legacy is somewhat mixed due to various design and performance issues. Its development began in 1940 with the goal of producing a high-speed, high-altitude interceptor to counter the Luftwaffe's bombers. The MiG-3 was based on the earlier MiG-1, which had shown potential but suffered from stability problems and engine issues. The MiG-3 had a Michelin AM-35A engine. The MiG-3 specifically allocated it to be a high-altitude interceptor, one that could outpace a Bf-109. However, with the engine that it had when flying at sea level, it struggled to maintain pace with the 109. This aircraft only has a single 12.7mm machine gun and two 7.62mm machine guns. The MiG-3 entered service in 1941 with the Soviet Air Force, but it was quickly recognized that the aircraft's high-altitude performance was not as useful in the low-altitude combat that dominated the Eastern Front of World War II. The Luftwaffe's attacks, especially against Soviet ground forces, occurred at lower altitudes, which meant that the MiG-3's strengths were less relevant. This aircraft saw extensive combat during the Battle of Moscow and other critical campaigns in 1941 and 1942. However, its performance was somewhat limited. While it could achieve excellent speeds and climb rates at higher altitudes, its armament and maneuverability were less than optimal when compared to other fighters of the time. By 1942, the MiG-3 was largely phased out and replaced by the more versatile and effective Yakolev Yak-1 and Lavochkin La-5, which were better suited for the low-altitude combat encountered on the Eastern Front. Despite its shortcomings, the MiG-3 still managed to contribute to the defense of the Soviet Union during the early stages of World War II. The MiG-3-15 was ultimately outclassed by later developments, but still represented a key point in the Soviet Union's transition to more effective wartime aviation designs. The lessons learned from the MiG-3 were instrumental in shaping future Soviet aircraft and its design philosophy. That's all for the history lesson. I hope you enjoy the combat. Right now I'm just trying to climb as high as I can so I can boom and zoom some people. This aircraft is very fast, but it's definitely not very maneuverable. I'm definitely going to be flying this aircraft very strategically. The MiG-3 really doesn't like to pull up out of anything, so whenever I'm going to boom and zoom somebody, I definitely need to make sure that I'm aware of how fast I am and how close I am. But generally whenever you're flying this aircraft, you want to make sure that you pull up a lot earlier than you normally would. From what I can see, I'm above the sea of red, so I'm just going to try to descend a little bit to get some kills. As I'm diving, I'm always going to be looking around me, being aware of all my surroundings. I'm going to try to kill one of these 4 enemies, but then I see that I'm about to overspeed, so I have to pull up. I definitely don't want to get too fast in this aircraft. This aircraft's already not very maneuverable as it is. As I'm climbing, I'm always going to be looking around me, being aware of all my surroundings, and because I'm doing that, I'm able to spot this hurricane in front of me. I know 100% that I'm definitely not going to want to turn fight this hurricane, but I know I'm definitely going to be able to outclimb him, so I'm just going to use that to my advantage and try to boom and zoom him. As we both close in on each other, I'm going to start the dive, and before I do that, I'm always going to be looking around me, being aware of all my surroundings. I see an MS-406 behind me, and I really don't like to be seeing that right now, but I know I absolutely just need to keep an eye on him. I fire out the hurricane here, set him on fire, and now with all my speed and energy, I'm just going to fly away. I really don't want to be in this mosh pit of aircraft. I hate to be this low. Now I see this pretty clueless buffalo, so I'm going to take advantage of that now. Fire at him there, set him on fire, and now I'm just going to climb away. And as I'm about to start my climb, I'm always going to be looking around me, being aware of all my surroundings. I'm really not liking any of my surroundings right now. As I'm climbing, I'm seeing a ton of aircraft coming in towards me, so I'm just going to pitch for about 20 degrees. 20 degrees is about the best angle of climb speed for the MiG-3. The best angle of climb speed, also known as VX, is when the aircraft gains as much altitude in the shortest amount of distance possible. If you pitch for about 15 to 20 degrees in any fighter, you'll most likely be around the best angle of climb speed. My enemies probably don't know to pitch for a certain altitude, so therefore I'm probably going to be able to outclimb them. If their nose is too high, they're just going to keep bleeding off their speed and energy. If their nose is too low, then they're probably not going to be very efficient when climbing. Most of the fighters seem to have broken off of me, so now I see this B-17. I definitely want to try to kill that B-17. Thankfully, this B-17 isn't the American B-17 bomber. Since I'm at a battle rating at the moment of 2.3, I'm never going to be able to see the B-17 bombers for America. This B-17 is a Swedish strike aircraft. As I start to turn in towards this B-17, he starts to climb up to me. I'm really not entirely sure why, but I definitely won't be complaining about that. He's losing all of his speed and energy, which is great for me. Now all I have to do here is just loop around and dive on him. As I'm trying to level out this cargo ship of an aircraft, this madman starts to go head on with me. I fire at him here, and I'm able to pilot snipe him. That was extremely dangerous. And now with the speed and energy that I just gained, I'm going to climb back up to altitude, and I'm always going to be looking around me, being aware of all my surroundings. As I'm heading towards the enemy airfield, I see that there are 3 enemies below and in front of me. I also know that they're trying to make it back to their airfield, and I'm going to try not to let them. I start to dive on them now. As I'm diving, I just want to make sure that I know where all the enemies are at all times. I'm just trying to go for somebody who looks pretty clueless, which is pretty much all three of them. I'm going to go for this middle guy here because he also has a huge oil leak. I can really go for anybody because I have a ton of speed and energy here. This guy probably didn't even know that I was behind him. I'm able to take him out pretty easily. Now I'm going to head for his friend. I absolutely need to make sure that I'm very aware of how close I am to this guy's airfield. I know that I'm never going to be able to get to him without getting shot by his artillery, so I'm just going to pull up here. But this is totally fine because I still have enough fuel for the time being. I know that all I have to do here is just stay above the enemies and circle. I see that there's a wildcat below me. I'm going to try to dive on him here. I definitely don't want to overcommit though. I know that there's still a lot of fighters around me trying to take off at their airfield. I'm definitely going to be wanting to keep my speed up here. This guy will be able to outmaneuver me. But then all I have to do here is just drain his energy and or boom and zoom him and I'll be fine. I see that he starts turning towards me. I dive on him, but then I see that he starts going head on. I'm definitely not going to be challenging those 450 caliber machine guns. And then all I have to do here is just pull back up. As long as I just keep boom and zooming him, he's just never going to be able to get up to me. I also need to keep in mind that the enemies are probably still at the airfield trying to take off, so I'm definitely not going to be boom and zooming this guy again. It's a 2v1 right now, and I already know that one of them is able to outmaneuver me. And I'm presuming that the other one's going to be able to as well, so I'm going to need all the altitude I can get. Thankfully, I'm able to see in the kill feed that the Wildcat crashed. Now it's just a 1v1. I'm thinking that the last guy on the enemy team is probably just at his airfield camping. But then thankfully, as I'm flying around this guy's airfield, he crashes and I'm able to win the game. Thank you everybody for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my video. If anybody has any suggestions on what aircraft they want me to fly next, please leave them in the comment section down below and I'd be happy to fly that aircraft.